He is a security guard. She is his billionaire boss. When the luxury cruise ship sinks, the social hierarchy sinks with it. Zhao Tianyu's job was to watch over Lu Shui from a distance as CEO, a woman as beautiful as she was untouchable. He never dreamed he'd ever get close to her, until a catastrophic storm shattered their world. Now, Zhao Tianyu and Lu Shui are among the handful of survivors, stranded on a life raft in the vast, unforgiving ocean. In the corporate world, he followed her orders. But in this primitive fight for survival, the rules have changed. To stay alive, they must rely on each other. And Lu Shui discovers that the civilized world she mastered means nothing against raw instinct. As hunger, desperation, and inescapable intimacy set in, an impossible connection begins to bloom. But in this merciless expanse, the greatest danger may not be the sharks or the storms, but the deepest desires and darkest secrets they are forced to confront within themselves. Chapter 1. The Luxurious Cruise Ship. On the deck of a magnificent cruise ship, the sea breeze gently caressed, carrying a hint of saltiness. Zhao Tianyu stood alone in a corner of the cabin deck, leisurely smoking a cigarette. Dressed in a security uniform, he stood tall, yet his attire rendered him somewhat out of place among the elegantly dressed crowd surrounding him. Zhao Tianyu slightly squinted, directing his gaze towards a group of men and women not far off, engrossed in lively conversation. Among them, a woman clad in a pink dress particularly caught his attention. She was tall and possessed a curvaceous figure. Her long hair, cascading like a waterfall in the wind, exuding an enchanting charm. This captivating beauty was none other than Lu Shui, the president of their company. At merely 26 years of age, she had already demonstrated extraordinary business acumen and leadership qualities. Having recently returned from studying abroad, she took over the reins of the company from her father and, through her intelligence and diligence, has led the company to unprecedented heights. Lu Shui possessed a stunningly beautiful visage. Akin to a rare flower that could make fish sink and birds fall, her beauty was as radiant as the first ray of sunlight in the morning, warm and dazzling, yet also reminiscent of the brilliant stars in the night sky, impossible to overlook. Consequently, she was never short of fervent admirers. A long queue of suitors forming behind her, all vying for a mere smile from the enchanting lady. However, without exception, all her admirers faced her merciless rejection. Regarding matters of the heart, Lu Shui maintained a steadfast attitude that in her own words, "I am still young and should prioritize my career. Before I turn 30, I will not consider personal emotional issues." Thus, the impression she left on others was not only that of breathtaking beauty, but also a demeanor as cold as ice. She resembled an unattainable iceberg, radiating an aura that instilled fear, allowing only distant admiration. Rumors circulated within the company, speculating that Lu Shui might be a lesbian, entirely disinterested in men otherwise. Her numerous suitors would not have been so publicly humiliated, despite her usual aloof demeanor, which seemed to keep others at bay. She unexpectedly showed great concern for her subordinates, this time to reward everyone for their diligent efforts. She generously chartered an extraordinarily luxurious cruise ship, inviting all employees to embark on a delightful voyage. Relishing this rare moment of joy.at this moment, Lu Shui gracefully held a glass of crystal-clear red wine, smiling as she toasted to a group of senior management. Her figure was elegant and graceful, and her every gesture emanated a unique charm. Her breathtaking beauty rendering all who beheld her utterly mesmerized. Standing not far away, Zhao Tianyu gazed intently at Lu Shui, unable to resist whispering, "Oh my, I must say this woman is as beautiful as a celestial being, so full of allure. If I could marry her, I would willingly shatter my bones to brew soup for her," as he lost himself in admiration of Lu Shui's enchanting presence. A large hand suddenly rested gently on his shoulder. Startled, Zhao Tianyu turned to find it was his direct superior, Security Captain Chunhu. With a broad smile, Chunhu teasingly remarked, "Hey Zhao, look at you, sneaking a peek at President Liu again. Stop daydreaming. You should know that a woman as noble and elegant as President Liu is not someone ordinary folks like us can aspire to." Zhao Tianyu nodded in acknowledgement, yet deep within his heart, he silently mused, "Humph. To hell with that. If a person dares not dream or pursue anything, what difference is there between them and a lifeless salted fish? Even if I cannot possess her, it is still delightful to behold. Thus, Zhao Qianyu's gaze seemed glued to Lu Shui, fixated for an extended period. As time slipped by, he was reluctant to blink, seemingly striving to imprint every facet of her beauty and each subtle expression deep within his heart. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity, Zhao Qianyu gradually emerged from his reverie, reluctantly pulling his gaze away. One must understand, a mere ordinary security guard like him could hardly expect the illustrious Lu Shui to deign to toast him. It was nothing short of a fantasy. His colossal and opulent cruise ship resembled a steel behemoth, cleaving through the tumultuous waves with great speed. It had been sailing across the boundless ocean for a full 2 days. On this particular noon, the previously clear and radiant sky, so bright that it was blinding, suddenly underwent a dramatic transformation. The pristine white clouds had been replaced by ominous, pitch-black thunderclouds, gathering together like a horde of menacing demons, swiftly enveloping the entire sky. Then, dazzling flashes of lightning sliced through the firmament like silver serpents, accompanied by the deafening roar of thunder that echoed in succession. Simultaneously, the sea turned tumultuous, waves rising to great heights, crashing violently against the ship's hull, producing terrifying sounds that sent chills down one's spine. In the face of such sudden and fierce weather, the cruise ship began to sway violently, as if it could be overturned by the raging waves at any moment. Amidst the dangerous predicament, the passengers panicked, hurriedly retreating to their cabins, seeking refuge. At this moment, Zhao Qianyu was crammed into a rather cramped room with a few fellow security colleagues. Alas, the security profession occupied the lowest rung within the company. They not only endured various humiliations, but were also often the least favored department. However, despite being tightly packed together, making it nearly impossible to turn around, they did not voice much complaint. For them, the mere opportunity to enjoy such a luxurious cruise was a rare and joyous occasion. Thus, even if the conditions were somewhat challenging, they remained grateful and content. Peering through the room's window at the tumultuous sea, one security guard expressed his concern. With such fierce winds and waves, do you think our cruise ship will sink? Chapter 2. Trouble on the Cruise Ship. Hearing this, Captain Chun, who smiled and replied, "Hey, it's clear you've never been on a cruise ship before. Let me tell you, this ship is no ordinary vessel. Even if the waves crash like ferocious beasts, it remains as steady as a mountain. Nothing will happen. So just stay calm and don't fret unnecessarily." In reality, most of the security personnel had never been on a cruise ship. After all, with their meager monthly salaries, they could barely manage their household expenses, let alone afford such extravagant travel. If it weren't for this rare, company-organized, team-building event, they might have only glimpsed luxurious cruise ships through television or pictures throughout their lives at this moment, the cruise ship continued to sway incessantly, akin to a drunken man stumbling along the path. The sky was shrouded in ominous clouds, soon followed by torrential rain that fell in sheets, with large raindrops crashing violently against the deck and windows, producing a cacophony of sound. The winds and waves upon the sea grew increasingly ferocious, the howling winds reminiscent of a malevolent spirit's roar, sending shivers down one's spine. As time passed, just when everyone believed the storm was subsiding, a colossal wave, towering over 10 meters, surged forth like an enraged dragon, claws bared, lunging at the cruise ship. A deafening crash resounded as the immense impact caused the ship to lose its balance, tilting and threatening to capsize. Those who had sought refuge in their cabins were caught off guard, unable to react in time, and tumbled clumsily to the floor. In an instant, the entire ship was filled with cries of anguish and screams, enveloping every individual in a blanket of fear and despair. Zhao Qianyu was no exception. He was forcefully thrown to the ground, his body making painful contact with a hard floor, eliciting a grimace of agony. Yet, fortune favored him as he quickly regained his composure. Enduring the pain, he struggled to rise, using his limbs to push himself up, and shouted, "This is bad. The cruise ship is in trouble. We must escape." After uttering these words, he swiftly flung open the cabin door, his movements somewhat frantic as he dashed into the corridor. He extended his arms and snatched a life jacket that lay by the corridor, hastily donning it. His hands trembled slightly from anxiety as he stumbled, his body swaying left and right, desperately racing towards the deck of the cruise ship. At this moment, the corridor, already narrow, was packed with many others like Zhao Tianyu, panicked and hastily emerging from their rooms. Faces were etched with alarm as they jostled each other, seeking a path to safety on the increasingly tilting vessel. As the ship continued to lean, maintaining balance became more challenging, with individuals toppling over, screams and shouts echoing throughout. The merciless sea began to surge into the ship's cabins, the water level rising and amplifying the terror among the passengers. Yet, amidst this chaos, Zhao Qianyu's singular focus was to reach the deck. He had no time to consider the fates of others. Suddenly, an unforeseen event transpired. A corpulent man ahead of Zhao Tianyu unexpectedly slipped and fell heavily to the ground. This sudden obstruction blocked Zhao Tianyu's escape route. However, with only survival on his mind, he did not hesitate to step over the fallen man, continuing his frantic dash. The man, feeling the weight of Zhao Tianyu upon him, let out a piercing scream. "Ah? Who dares tread upon me? I swear I shall make you pay," he shouted, struggling to rise, but the crowded corridor and his size rendered him immobile. After considerable effort, Zhao Qianyu finally managed to carve a path through the throng, successfully reaching the deck. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped into the boundless, tumultuous sea. At that instant, the winds howled, stirring up monstrous waves. As Zhao Qianyu plunged into the water, a massive wave struck him violently, like a heavy hammer crashing down. Instantly, he was propelled several meters away, akin to a feather caught in a tempest. As he was swept away, salty sea water rushed into his mouth, causing his throat to burn with discomfort, while excruciating pain radiated throughout his body, as if every bone and muscle were fracturing. Fortunately, the life jacket he wore provided buoyancy, allowing him to resurface quickly, whereupon he began to cough violently, attempting to expel the seawater that had invaded his lungs. Thus, he was relentlessly pushed further out to sea by wave after wave, completely losing his sense of distance and direction. Time slipped away unnoticed until the rain gradually ceased and the once turbulent sea began to calm. Zhao Qianyu lifted his head, scanning the vast expanse of water, only to realize he was utterly alone. An overwhelming sense of solitude and helplessness washed over him. Yet he understood that in order to survive in this vast ocean, he must conserve his remaining strength. He lay back on the surface of the water, allowing the life jacket to support him as he floated in the endless sea, patiently awaiting a chance for salvation. Hours passed, and hunger gnawed at him, his stomach growling like a ravenous beast, while his lips cracked from dehydration, each swallow of saliva sending sharp pain coursing through him. With great effort, he opened his heavy eyelids, gazing into the infinite, turbulent ocean, devoid of any land in sight. This endless blue evoked a profound sense of despair and helplessness within him. Zhao Qianyu could not help but curse inwardly, lamenting his misfortune. What a stroke of bad luck. I had hoped to relax on this trip, yet I find myself amidst such calamity. Could it be that I am the sole survivor among so many on the cruise? As he spiraled into despair, the night fell like a grand, dark curtain, enveloping the sky. With the deepening darkness, Zhao Qianyu felt his strength ebbing away. Even the slightest movement became a Herculean task. Ultimately, overwhelmed by exhaustion, he could no longer remain conscious, his awareness fading as he drifted into a fitful slumber. However, fortunate was he, for the buoyancy of the life jacket held him aloft, preventing him from sinking into the icy depths of the ocean.